Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. That was Fever by Yellen. And I was missing my radio days, so I figured I'd play one for you to start us off. Hi there. My name's Jake. Good to meet you if you're just joining us for the first time. Hey, by the way, Wicked community, if folks show up in the chat, say hi. Just want to establish that we are a friendly bunch of ne'er-do-wells. Very excited for today's show. Ooh boy. First of all, I love Salty Saturday because we get to vent a little. We get to just be salty. And second, because the Wicked community is just so full of fantastic ideas that I can't wait to get talking about them a lot of the time. Hey, I just had an idea. I should probably record the show so that people can see it later. That'll help. Some advanced YouTubing there. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this Salty Saturday. Let's have a look around. Wireless Mike. Yes, sir. The salt is here. Dean Oldfield, good to see you. Wicked Foxy Dragon says we are going to laugh at fascists. That is exactly what we're going to do. There's a Miyazaki movie. Or maybe not Miyazaki. There's a Studio Ghibli movie that I just saw like a little mini documentary on. Got me thinking about fascists. It's about, who knows? It's Studio Ghibli. It's about some wacky stuff set in a historic time period. That's not going to narrow it down. But the point being, it sort of got me looking at the bigger picture again. And just coincidentally, we had suggestions come in to what you can do at wickednetwork.com for some great clips to check out that sort of fit in perfectly with this theme, I suppose. We also have from Zix. We already have a suggestion for Salty Saturday. Oh, never mind. That was last Saturday. We looked at this. Humans Be Gone was delightful. But I'm going to share with you right now. Nope, not that. I'm going to share with you the link. If you guys have clips you think we should watch as well, pop them, share them on that spreadsheet that I've just linked in the live chat, and we'll have a look if we get to it in time. It's majority report rules. If we run out of time, and the time is defined by often when my computer says it's going to shut down, regardless of choices I make, we'll have a look. But first, let's get started with some Daily Show. Y'all, they've flourished in the age of the internet. I thought I'd share with you a viewer suggestion. Thanks to Lawrence Saint-Laurent for this one. Here's the Daily Show looking at the Tucker blackmail
got your
files.
HR file here. Whew, it's not looking good. Every Friday was Casual Racism Fridays. Multiple reports of you calling women the C word, the B word, and the E word. I don't even know there was an E word. Needless to say, you can't say it, Tucker. I mean, this is just an HR nightmare. You gave everyone the day off for Mel Gibson's birthday. These are nicknames you gave various female employees. Tits McBeaver, Twat Von Milkers, Titty Titty Vag Vag, Muff Blitzer, Muff Titzer, Nipple Tit Vagina. This is
To be fair, I've gone by Muff Blitzer for a time.
not good, Tuck. You brought in a pair of khakis and said anyone darker than these can head home for the day. Tucker, you called one of the cameras in the studio gay for looking at you so much. There's an entire section here just labeled slurs you shouted when someone ordered Chipotle.
Jesus. The thing is, here's my only critique of that. None of those things would actually get Tucker Carlson in any trouble at all, with the suits or with his viewers. Awesome suggestion. Thank you, Lord Saint-Laurent. Oh my gosh. Oh, mercy me. Well, we have some somewhat more actionable stuff as well. This was suggested by Frannee P. It's called The Downfall of Local News. I'd like to have a little look-see I have not seen it yet, but I very much, that's your old pal Jake's wheelhouse for sure. So we're gonna have a look, and I'll tell you, I actually have some shockingly optimistic views on local news, but I do believe it's going to get. Will it get worse? It's going to continue to be bad before it gets better, but I do believe it's going to get better. Let's look at what the Wicked community has to say about the Tuckums. Oh, lots of hello. Good to see y'all. We got Wireless Mike here as well. Oh, delighted to have you. All right, let's dive in. So this was, I believe, suggested by Frannee P. Frannee, correct me if I was wrong on that, or if you're the one that sent somebody else sent it, then let me know. I'm very confident before we go live, and then as soon as we're live, and I'm not looking at the notes I wrote 45 seconds ago, confidence is gone, baby. Oh well. But this is from Now This News, and it's about what they call the downfall of local news. Again, I don't think we're looking at a downfall, but we are certainly looking at a dip. Let's hear what they have to say about it.
Broadcast, thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Over the past few decades, local journalism has been decimated across the United States. Newsrooms have shrunk, TV stations have stopped sending reporters to small towns, and local papers have dwindled or shut down entirely due to corporate buyouts.
Local news is a keystone of democracy.
So what happens to democracy without local news?
There were reporters covering communities all over the state, reporters covering state agencies, reporters covering issues. We really covered pretty much everything.
This is David Owens, a former reporter who covered the state of Connecticut for 32 years, first at a small local paper and then at the Hartford Courant, the state's largest daily newspaper and the oldest continuously published paper in the United States.
When I went to the Hartford Courant, I went into a newsroom of 400 people. I saw that number decline dramatically to probably 40 when I left.
The steep decline Owens saw is mirrored in newsrooms across the country. 25% of all U.S. newspapers have shut down since 2005. Nearly 50% of counties only have one paper, typically a weekly. And as of 2022, 211 counties, where more than 70 million Americans live, don't have a local newspaper at all.
There's also the way the news business has changed.
Let's pause it here for a moment just because I want to, I don't even know if I'd call this corrections. I want to be nice. But some differences of opinion, let's say, or rather some reframing. There it is. When they say that these counties only have one local newspaper, or they're talking about the newspaper going away, the reason that's serious is because when you do a video, for example, the expertise needed broadens. It's literally because a video is more difficult to do that it's a problem. Why is that? Because it's less pure. Imagine if the news could only be read for whatever reason. They're not for legal reasons, but some amazing genie wish happens, and suddenly reality works in such a way where the news can only be read if it is written in both French and Spanish. Well, the number of people who are capable of bringing you the news goes way down. And the news you are getting is suddenly from the perspective of people that have spent a big chunk of their time learning French and Spanish, and the expertise needed to be hired on. It goes on and on and on. An article written about local events is what they were talking about in that front part. Now, we're also, I suspect, I haven't seen this video yet, but I suspect they're also going to talk about local TV news stations. Sure. But the reframing I'm talking about here is we still functionally have a lot of that service. It's just people don't get paid for it. There's a problem. The local reporting is done often by the community. It's wild to see. Which also means because their expertise is not in fact-finding. In fact, the only reason it's being done is because people are present and have a cell phone handy. We're adding to the likelihood that disinformation is going to be spread, or that the official line said by a mayor is going to get pushed along. So it's all I'm saying is the picture they're painting here is bad, and I acknowledge that. But this is not to say that information is gone. This information doesn't get generated anymore. It's just generated badly. You might even say that's a worse problem. But let's see how far they go with this. Believe it or not, I think we have a real opportunity to fix this. But I'll go into my long-winded detail on the other side. Let's let him finish.
We've gone from a deadline of 5 o'clock in the afternoon to file your story for the next morning's newspaper to having to feed the beast all day. And that prevents you from perhaps doing the amount of detailed reporting that you want to do.
There's less coverage of environmental issues, there's less coverage of development projects, school board meetings, government corruption, police misconduct, and so much more.
This is Kate Ruan. She's the director of the U.S. Free Expression Programs at PEN America, a nonprofit that champions free expression through literature. The organization released an expansive report in 2019 that explored the decline of local journalism throughout the U.S.
I'm just going to be fast because the Wicked community often sums it up better than anyone else I see, including me. Zick says mainstream and local media need to accept that the paper/cable TV paradigm is no longer effective. They haven't properly tapped into the online market. That's it exactly. It is a question of tapping into the online market. That's all. It's simply been a failure of an industry to adapt. It is not to say that such an industry could not exist in our time. I'm going to give this video, though, an opportunity to say that themselves. I bet they will. Most people I know in the local news industry, at least the young, ambitious bucks, whether they're young because they're just recently joining the industry from a different one or literally young. The point is, a lot of folks I met have ideas that, if any of them catches on, is going to revolutionize, and I would expect a massive change.
Out local news reporters creating stories that the people within the community all trust and agree upon as being the basis from which political discussion can launch, then that is where we start to see diverging realities. That is where we start to see things like disinformation campaigns coming in to divide us even further. We see things like election denialism. We see things like a lack of understanding of environmental impacts.
This is in part because of the national sources people turn to in the absence of local news. These national outlets tend to attract audiences along party lines. Conservatives mainly watch Fox News, and liberals tend to rely on CNN, NPR, MSNBC, and the New York Times. When people consume their news in these echo chambers, increased political polarization shows up at the ballot box. Multiple studies have found that in jurisdictions that have experienced a decline in local journalism, there's less split-ticket voting. In other words, more people are voting for all Democrats or all Republicans than they were when they had local news to inform their decisions. Beyond this political division, there are simply fewer people voting in the first place. There's also less scrutiny of those running in local and state races.
There's been a lot of attention paid to the case of the congressman from New York.
Republican Congressman-elect George Santos.
Santos trying to minimize his lies as mere embellishments.
Republican Congressman-elect Santos says he is not going to step down.
I think it's very unlikely that in a vibrant local news environment, he would have been elected. Reporters would have asked him questions. When they didn't get straight answers, they would have asked the question again. When you don't have local reporters covering those local races, people slip through.
Jesus, I'm having flashbacks looking at that setup over there. Yes, that's exactly why we need local news. Not going to add a whole thing. That's just it. I'm going to add one thing. When you sit down and ask yourself, what is a journalist? What actually is their job? Is it to write? Is it to film? No. As I was alluding to earlier, those are necessary skills that a journalist needs to learn to communicate their work. But what's the actual work that they do? The actual work that they do is literally just fact-finding. That's all. It's like a detective without a gun. Find out the truth, and then communicate that to the public in some way. What we need to be looking at from a broad perspective is how do we once again finance fact-finding? That's really what the question becomes. All right, letting them finish.
Less accountability for government officials has been shown to result in higher taxes, corruption, and environmental crises.
Let's look at what happened in Flint, Michigan, with its water crisis. In April of 2014, the town of Flint changed its water source from Lake Huron to the Flint River. In May of that year, the Flint Journal, of 4 times a week.
If you wonder why I so frequently use Michigan as a positive example, yeah, it's partially because we're all human, and I'm as lazy as anyone else, and if it's near me, it's easier. But also, Jesus Christ, my state has a lot of making up to do with our reputation.
Local news source was already reporting on the story, and they stayed with it until it became national news. But it took 9 months of reporting before any outlet outside of Flint covered the crisis. Residents of Flint are part of multiple communities that have long been underrepresented and undercredited in national news coverage. Now, what would have happened to the people of Flint, who are a community who were raising concerns, without the Flint Journal? How many Flint water crises are we missing because there's no one covering them?
The Flint Journal is just one example. Many other local news outlets have uncovered massive crimes with wide-ranging impacts. Reporters at the Boston Globe were the first to reveal abuses in the Catholic Church in Boston. A Miami Herald investigative journalist exposed sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein after identifying and interviewing dozens of alleged victims. Indy Star reporters broke the story on Larry Nassar's longtime child sexual abuse. Without local journalists to uncover these stories, exploitation, abuse, and corruption slip through the cracks. On the flip side, moving beyond sensationalist if it bleeds it leads coverage of crime becomes more difficult when local journalists don't have the resources to dig deep or investment in thoughtful storytelling from the powers that be. Clearly, local journalism is at a crossroads. So what can be done?
Revitalizing local news will require investments that collectively total billions of dollars, and that cannot come from a single source, but will require concerted action from philanthropic, private, and public sectors. We support the federal government doing 3 things to support local news. The first is to stop the rampant consolidation and nationalization of news. The second is to create a commission that will study what the federal government needs to do to provide support to local news organizations, and specifically they should consider how and how much public funding to give to these sources. And third, they should pass tax credits that help support people to be able to purchase news sources and help support news sources to remain in business at this critical time.
I'm hopeful that there's a market out there for good journalism. I believe there is. I believe there's a lot of good people out there who care about truth and who care about reality. They need to put their money where their hopes are.
Great suggestion. Fantastic video, man. Let's just start with what the Wicked community has to say. My local news, Channel 5, is really good, says Wireless Mike. They do a lot to cover real issues here, but they could still do more. They do have a good presence on YouTube, though. They post every story they run on network. Step 1, folks. If you happen to live in a small town, here's what I would love for you to do. And this is in response to Wireless Mike and in answer to the question below it from our own Wicked Foxy Dragon. Jake, so what can we do to bolster news? Interesting. Sorry, ADD. Step one, if you live in a small town and your local news station is not on YouTube, like they aren't uploading a video, even if they're a paper, if they're not uploading videos where they are putting their reporting in some format online, encourage them to do that. All they need is a junior reporter or an intern or whatever their lowest paid employee is that is allowed to hit the publish button. To read the articles into a camera. It can be a cell phone, just propped up in the news station. That, by the way, is not so ridiculous at Local 4, which sounds small but is a massive. It's the biggest news organization in Detroit. WDIV. They literally, for a while, had a cat who just recorded on his cell phone in the newsroom. It works. And what it does is gives them an opportunity to make more money and make more fans. Encourage your local news stations to start YouTube accounts. Rustbox! Hey, Jake and the Wicked People. Delighted to see you, my friend. Other things we can do. As they stated in that video, I think that's a great idea. Limit with legislation the ability of major corporations to operate local level news outlets. I come from a career where I worked for many local news stations and only 3 companies. I had like 5 different jobs in the news, and I worked for 3 companies. And really, I only worked for 2 companies after one got bought out, to tell you what it's like. Nexstar, for example, is every bit as big as Fox. Graham Media is every bit as big as MSNBC. Gray is every bit as big as CNN. These are all companies which control literally hundreds of news stations around the country. And it kills actual local journalism. You might think, oh, well, aren't they sponsoring it? Not really. They make it difficult to exist as an independent business, and we have in part the legislation between Reagan and Clinton, and I think George H.W. Bush as well, bridging those, that made that possible. So federal rules. This isn't a wicked. This is Salty Saturday. I'm just going to tell you the situation as I sees it. What's it like working at a local station? I'll tell you a true story. You know we're going to get real because I'm popping the jacket off for this one. Once upon a time, a young Lithuanian, young being a generous term, was at a Christmas party for a station which I won't specify. And it was for a station that was with one of those really big conglomerate news places. And my boss was a little bit drunk. And she came from the era where when you were invited to a Christmas party for your company, it was supposed to be something you enjoyed. It wasn't, oh, look, now you have to work a little bit more for free. You have to go on a holiday, smile and be in the office and get recorded by the security cameras and be offered booze that you know you really should not accept. Different era, in other words. So she had drank, and she was telling me, like, damn it, I was partially in charge of setting up this thing. You want to know what our budget was for this? Sure, says I. She's like, $100. $100. Then she said, we used to all get a big fat bonus right around this time of year, and the budget for the Christmas party was $10,000. The early 90s she's talking about. $10,000 for the Christmas party. So, simply put, less money is going into the hands of journalists. The business is bleeding out onto the internet, where a substitute for the product they put out is offered for free. The product they put out, as we stated earlier, it's facts. That's all it is. Facts. And a substitute for facts has flooded the market. There is opinion. There's conjecture. We need to work hard to demonetize conjecture and opinion. Even if that means what I do takes a hit. That's the goal. When I talk about making it so that Fox cannot exist anymore, that's what I'm talking about. The clicks Fox gets when they lie, not all of them would instead go to a local news organization, but maybe 1 in 50 would? That's enough. That is enough. So our legislation that we push for long term should also include a serious look at who we take away money from, as well as who we try to provide money for. And as she said, I do like the idea of giving tax breaks to ambitious folks that want to start a state level or a city level news organization. Sure, yeah. But, I mean, I was there for the decline of the industry, for a lot of it. And I'll tell you, most of it came from the fact that old school folks were making old school decisions, were too terrified of the internet to seriously consider it. And then when they realized they had no choice but to get involved with the internet, they did so in a way that was begrudging. When I see local papers trying to charge people for a subscription to click on their articles, I roll my eyes. I think, like, well, we got 5 more years with that paper in existence. Because who's going to do that? It's just they have no understanding of what new media consumption looks like. But that will change. And my slightly optimistic view is, as these places shut down, and as we saw with George Santos, and as we suffer for the state we are in, the demand for them is going to rise up until money changes hands. What we should just worry about, if anything, is that the money comes from rich people, comes from powerful people. The reason I'm slightly hesitant to really get behind giving tax breaks to people is it requires that somebody first have the ability to spend the money to then get forgiven on their taxes, or it requires a powerful person in government to permit somebody to do something. And what we need is, just like with the current ad system that we have, regular old views to be what generates the income, or as it was back in the day. Oh boy, shouldn't have done that. As it was back in the day, like a quarter or whatever for an article. Zick says, oh wait, let me go up. Yeah, Zick says, I think I started to care again when I woke up one morning to see my building with the side blown off. Good Lord. Yes, we had terrorists in the 80s too. Good Lord. Wireless Mike says, even if only one person would buy the paper, they would leave it in the break room at work and everybody would read it. Interesting. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Stuart Brooks says, Gannett has already acquired so many news orgs. Yeah, we do need to legislate against the very people I come from. I don't blame Graham or Gray or Nexstar or the any of those folks. I don't blame them for taking advantage of the market as it is, but the market shouldn't be there for them to take advantage of. We can't have it be that 2 or 3 organizations provide us all of our information, because coincidentally, we will then never hear about bad news regarding those organizations or their friends. All right, I really want to show you this Beau of the Fifth Column clip. No intro. Let's just look at it. It's too good. There's going to be an intro. Never mind. There was too much of a space there. Damn it. Okay. No. All right. Y'all can't see me clicking right next to the button I'm supposed to be clicking, but I assure you, we'll get there. I hate everything. There we go. Beau of the Fifth Column. Let's check him out. This is a good one. It's about McCarthy.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Beau again. So today we are going to talk a little bit about that budget that the House sent up, Republicans in the House sent up, and acted like it was a great, big, huge victory.
Real quick, you remember how your old pal Jake said that McCarthy was screwed when MAGA wouldn't let him be Speaker of the House? Okay, I just want to get my I told you so's ready.
And some contradictory messages and nerves of steel, because apparently McCarthy has them. Okay, so the ink isn't even dry on this budget yet, and reporting has started to highlight some discrepancies in what McCarthy is said to have told the various factions within the Republican Party, because remember, they can't agree on anything. They all want something different. So, according to the New York Times, while he was, quote, beseeching his colleagues privately to back the bill, Mr. McCarthy repeatedly told them to ignore the substance of the measure, which would never become law, and instead focus on the symbolic victory of passing any legislation to show Mr. Biden they were serious about their demand for spending cuts. I mean, just saying that in and of itself is something else, but there's more. There's another piece of reporting that says that McCarthy promised conservatives late Tuesday night that the debt ceiling bill they voted on yesterday was a floor, not a ceiling. McCarthy, he said, told them he would personally oppose and fight against any debt ceiling agreement that doesn't include all of the red meat provisions in the House bill.
Okay. Here's why I keep saying that the GOP, traditional conservatives, are going to become Democrats, and then MAGA's going to go away. Let's start because MAGA does not have the support of the country as a whole. Most people aren't down with what they want to do. When you are trying to imagine what a Republican politician is going to do in the next couple of years, just look at what they have done historically. They take the path of least resistance. They're trying to get massive tax cuts for their rich friends. That's all they care about, and all the other nonsense that traditional conservative Republicans talk about is in service to that. That's all. So if they are looking at the voters they're trying to appease, they're in a purple state, and so they do the centrist Republican thing, just like we have centrist Democrats. And the people they're working with in their party are a problem for them. They're simply going to start working with the party that is a problem for them less often. Democrats aren't great, my personal opinion. But they are honest. And if you make a deal with them, they stick to the deal. I foresee this being the cycle, particularly after, if we can do it, whipping in 2024, the cycle where we just start picking up Democrat seats. Let me tell you further. I think we can get an advantage in 24, and I think that advantage will expand by mid-25 from refugees just sick of having this MAGA bag on their hip. But let's go back to McCarthy's lies, because he promised opposing things to two groups. Tell us about it, Bo.
So the short version here is that McCarthy went to the moderates and was like, this is never going to become law. Don't even worry about what's in it. It's just a starting place. It won't be this drastic. And then he went to the hardliners and was like, hey, this is just the beginning. We're going to do more. I mean, that's something else. These people work in the same building. I hope they don't talk to each other or read these reports. They might get pretty upset. And given the fact that McCarthy significantly lowered what it required to remove him as Speaker, he better hope that none of them get in their feelings about this. I would imagine that other factions of the Republican Party were probably told other things as well. If this reporting is accurate, New York Times and Politico, if it's accurate, then there's probably going to be more to come out. But the important part for everybody watching to remember is even the Republicans don't actually want this. In order to vote for it, some of them had to be reassured that this wasn't going to be the actual bill. That doesn't provoke a lot of confidence. Of course, I would suggest, given the fact that their main messaging is, hey, we passed a bill, now you have to negotiate, says the same thing. And given the fact that they're not actually going out and telling people everything that they cut, that probably says the same thing as well. Those Republicans who are in swing states who voted for this, they might be really upset because they have taken a very risky vote now that they may have to answer for later. So my guess is that there will be conversations between the different factions, and there might be some arguments that kind of spring up. Yeah, things in the House are going great. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.
Oh, mercy, mercy me. Yeah, remember, Republicans don't give a I wholeheartedly expect that some of the evidence produced in upcoming trials about the coup is going to come from traditional Republicans who are sick to death of dealing with MAGA psychopaths. I'm fully expecting that. Oh, it's delicious. It's delicious. No danger, says Wicked Foxy Dragon, that Republicans will read anything. Yeah, maybe their well-read kids will tell them about it. Ooh. I just saw, says Patrick Thibodeau, a DeSantis for President commercial during the XFL playoff game And he clarifies, I am not watching XFL. I just have it on in the living room. Sports seems to relax the dogs while they chill on the couch. That's delightful, first of all. Second of all, I find it hilarious that the DeSantis campaign is so AstroTurf. I don't even know if that's the right word. They're not pretending it's grassroots, are they? But it's so propped up that he hasn't declared that he's running yet. And there's national commercials trying to make him president. A lot of folks are worried about Trump. Ask yourself, who paid for those ads? And are they the kind of people who have foresight? It seems, we're here right now in this era where Trump participated in a coup and it is a free man right now. This is literally the kind of thing we saw in countries where we did our best to kill democracy. Now we're experiencing it. That's the monkey's paw wish. But, there's a lot of powerful people who have lived through a lot of eras in the United States and around the world. And they have seen what a difference 6 months can make. Remember, these trials are going to be interesting, and the truth is going to come out. Donald Trump is going to be exposed in front of everyone for what he did. I truly hope and actually believe that we are seeing the end of the Republican Party. At the very least, we're seeing the end of the careers of most politicians currently involved in the Republican Party. We need to do the work to make sure the American people understand that Trump wasn't just a bad apple. He was, in terms of his ideology, a standard Republican. Abusing poor people, stealing from America, not just poor people, really abusing anybody he can get away with abusing, and stealing from Americans, lining his own pockets. Corrupt as hell. Undemocratic as hell. Frannee P, damn it, got me into Michael Moore's podcast. Now I'm listening to that all the time. He also just did a breakdown about how corrupt these people are. Every Republican president we've had since Nixon was corrupt in some way. Most flat out broke the law in some way. The Republican Party is a criminal organization. And we should do the work as a society to get rid of them, to have them declared a criminal organization officially. It's not a political party. It is a group of con artists who uses politics to thieve from us. Salty Saturday. That's kind of stuff we're gonna be slamming. We just got a viewer suggestion that I want to play, but it's gonna take me a moment to set it up. So bear with me here. This looks juicy as hell, though.
Tonight, a small town.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again.
It's not Bo again. Stop it. All right, hold up. Oh, OBS. This, to me, is perhaps my favorite genre of reporting these days. It's a hidden recording discovered in Oklahoma. I'll do a proper intro in a moment. All right, this is from my good friend Zix. Thank you very much for this suggestion. Ooh, this looks like a good one. I can't wait. Local reporting, this is why it's valuable. This is why we should do the work to make sure that it is a financially sustainable business to run. Here is a recording of Republicans in Oklahoma. Nope, not that. Here's a recording of Republicans in Oklahoma doing what Republicans always do. Breaking the law. Being evil.
Tonight, a small-town family-run newspaper at the center of a firestorm. Protesters lining up in McCurtain County, Oklahoma, demanding the resignation of the sheriff and 2 other officials after audio excerpts of racist and violent remarks they allegedly made went public. Now, the McCurtain Gazette-News releasing what it says is the entire recording. NBC News has not independently verified its authenticity. At one point, the people on the tape appear to discuss ramming a tank into the paper's office.
What you need to do, I'm going to go with Cody. I'm going to buy one of the more wore-out tanks. It's got a bad, let's see, it have a bad steering clutch on the left. And we're going to go about 30 miles through town, and when it go right through that stop sign, just make a detour right through GI and right through the...
You'll have to beat my son to it. Because he's already got a bright idea. He's going to put riprap in the front door.
District Commissioner Mark Jennings, also allegedly heard on that tape, resigned after the first audio clips were released. But the others, Sheriff Kevin Clarity, Sheriff's Office investigator Alicia Manning, and jail administrator Larry Hendricks, not stepping down. The newspaper...
Yeah, they should be in prison. We had all these, we had Marjorie Taylor Greene just incorrectly discuss how Fox firing Tucker, in her opinion, was a violation of the First Amendment. It wasn't. Fox is not the government. But I'll tell you, Sheriff's Office is the government. Sheriff's Office threatening newspapers, yeah, that surely is a violation of the First Amendment.
Paper's editor, Bruce Willingham, says he secretly recorded them during a conversation on March 6th by leaving a recording device in commissioners' chambers after a public meeting. Willingham runs...
Okay, thank God. So it wasn't a threat, but still, what's the deal? Were they joking there, or was that the actual plan? Let's find out. I'm curious. That said, even if they are joking, let me tell you, if you have police sweating that much over fact finders finding facts publicly, you have bad police. You should know that. Oklahoma, you did a bad job of electing your sheriff in whatever town that is. But you have an opportunity to redeem yourselves. I recommend you take it.
The paper with his son.
They initially started out talking about various people that might beat us or wanted to beat us.
The newspaper had run a series of stories critical of county officials.
I don't think I can contain myself.
Oh, you're talking about you can't control yourself.
Yeah, I'm not worried about what he's going to do to me. I'm worried about what I might do to him. They bring
those saying that, you know.
Goes around it.
It will. I told you it will.
Yeah.
I know where 2 big deep holes are here.
I got an estimator.
These are like pre-dug.
None of the 4 officials allegedly involved have responded to NBC News' requests for comment, but the sheriff's office did post on Facebook, calling the recording illegally obtained and saying the clips released had been altered, something attorneys for the paper deny. When the first excerpts were released, the community igniting in anger over the offensive and racist comments.
It was back in the day when I take a damn blackjack, whoop their ass, and throw them in the cell, I'd run for sheriff.
Yeah, well, it's not like that no more.
I know.
Yeah, there's that good stuff. There's the real American corruption I was waiting to hear. You can't get a group of conservatives in a room together thinking they are in private without hearing some good old-fashioned racism. I mean, my God. These people are clowns. We know this. Get rid of them.
Take them down here on Mud Creek and hang them up with the damn rope.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Think about it,
they got more rights than we got.
Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt now calling for the...
Just listen to that. Wait a minute. Just listen to that. They got more rights than we got. The audacity. Were they talking about minorities when he said that? Or was he talking about just regular old civilians? Or was he talking about the paper? It doesn't matter. All awful. all not something he should be pining for. Not exactly a defender of the American people, just some asshole.
Sheriff and council members to be removed. The mayor of Idabel, the county seat, echoing those calls.
You heard a story where they're talking about killing the newspaper man and how hanging folks and put them in the creek and folks of color. And this is not the 1920. This is the 2020.
All right.
Hold up. Just on the if you're not from the U.S., you might not know this. The county seat is sort of like the capital of the county. They're just like how there's a town in your state that's the capital of the state. There's a town in the U.S. that's the capital of the U.S. Yeah, the county seat is the town that is the official head of the county. That's why they're saying this guy from a different county says this. Man, I want to hear that last part again. What he says.
Newspaper man and how hanging folks and put them in the creek and folks of color. And this is not the 1920. This is the 2020.
Set aside whether or not these officials did anything illegal. I actually, listening to that, I don't think they did. I just think they're disgusting human beings. But should the public have confidence that these people are going to protect them? Those folks right there. Some of them are black. These county officials are just casually talking about, the good old days when we could harass people. When we could string people up by a rope. When they drive through that county, how do you think they're going to feel? When a sheriff's department vehicle tries to pull them over, they're going to make a calculation. And the calculation will probably be that the safest thing to do is respond and just be pulled over. But maybe they're going to make the calculation that what they have to do is keep driving, ignore the lights behind them, and just keep going, and hope they make it to a state police vehicle so they can get arrested, spend the weekend in jail with the state police, and not be subject to that county's sheriff's department or the local police, whatever form they take. We can't have that. We can't have different systems of justice for Americans based on their skin color. You have to ask yourself not what a perfect person would do, but what would a reasonable person do? And I just don't see how a reasonable person would have faith in those police officers. Or in this case, what was it? Sheriff's deputies, sheriff's department. They shouldn't. They'd be foolish to, in fact. Every last one of them's got to go, and we know about them thanks to local reporting. It's a great find, Zix. Thank you very much. I appreciate this one. Leon Chevalier, hello, sir. Patrick Thibodeau says, Jake can verify, but I think member equals... yes. Member equals lobbyist, viewer equals senator. I could have it backwards. Now you got it. We're having a bit of fun with the terminology. And we're doing it based on few and the or numbers of people and the financial relationship between us. So yes, members are lobbyists, hence the people bribing me. In the Senate, that's the live viewers. They're fewer. And then for the VOD, well, those are members of the House. A lot more folks, and a lot more regional. I'm just enjoying that. Oh, Well, I did want to talk about one last thing. Probably help if I download. Awful salty about this, but that's what we have Saturdays for. One of the last things Tucker Carlson was talking about on his show is fear-mongering, lie or misinformation spreading, awful program. One of the last things he was discussing was the case of a guy who had a run-in with the police after he appeared to, and I'm going to go off screen for a second here, after he appeared to assault a homeless guy. Well, wouldn't you know it, there have been some developments, and it looks like this guy might be a serial assaulter. You know how serial killers will start with like cats and then move their way up to humans as they get more and more comfortable hurting other creatures as they explore that evil side of themselves. Well, it looks like a local fire department official. I don't really know what you would have other than local. San Francisco, there we go. Fire department official has been assaulting homeless people as a hobby. Let's have a look at the grisly details, and I want you to remember, just like we saw with if you've been online lately, Steven Crowder being abusive towards his now ex-wife when she was pregnant. This is the end result of the culture that the far right has been pushing for, the dehumanization of people, cruel treatment of people. I don't know why in their soul they want to live in that world, but they've made it clear they want to live in a world where you can abuse other people freely. Here is my man Chris Hayes talking about it.
All right. So earlier this month, the now former host of the 8 p.m. hour on Fox News brought his viewers a story that sounded almost like it had been designed in a lab to confirm their worst fears, biases about America's urban hellholes. You see, the state of our cities has been a near constant theme for the now fired Tucker Carlson and the rest of his former network. They run this dystopian stuff day in and day out, grainy security camera footage of urban crime and disorder, like a hellscape on an endless loop. Their coverage is almost obsessive, neurotic, really, to the point where if you watch Fox News, you will likely become convinced that basically every major city in America, without exception, is an apocalyptic slum.
From coast to coast, crime is exploding in Democrat-run cities.
Lawlessness in blue cities continues.
Portland and in Seattle and Chicago, there's all hell is breaking loose in New York,
where people are regularly shot, beaten, and robbed in public.
Every city, it is out of control.
Chicago has become a sanctuary for violent, depraved criminals.
San Francisco devolved into a hellhole.
L.A. County, this is a lawless hellhole.
Dangerous, filthy hellhole.
I am getting out of this hellhole.
Fox is particularly obsessed with the city of San Francisco. In part, I think that's because they see it as this embodiment of liberalism.
Anywhere that is primarily conservative is a place, for the record, that I consider to be a hellhole.
It's the hometown of former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as well as, incidentally, the birthplace of Tucker.
Including my own town.
Carlson. Now, to be clear, San Francisco absolutely has its problems. It has a homelessness crisis, an acute one. Nearly 40,000 people lacking shelter on any given night. It's also dealing with a high level of what you might call public disorder, including drug overdoses and public drug use, and lots of folks, in the street. I think many people who live in San Francisco and elsewhere are concerned about the break-ins, concerned about public disorder, and I don't think those concerns are crazy. But the coverage of San Francisco from right-wing sources like Fox News is wildly overheated. So here's that made-in-a-lab sounding story I mentioned about a former San Francisco city official who was allegedly brutally attacked by a homeless person.
So how's San Francisco doing? Under good leadership, San Francisco would be thriving. But under Gavin Newsom's leadership, well, here's what's happening in San Francisco.
Friends identify the victim as Don Carmignani, a former San Francisco fire commissioner. He suffered a fractured skull, broken jaw, and lots of lacerations to his face and head. Carmignani showed up to his mother's place after they refused to move. Soon they picked up and put down near the corner laundromat. Carmignani confronted them, and that, they say, is what provoked the brutal beating.
Now, I should note, this story came on the heels of a highly publicized murder that you might have seen of a San Francisco tech executive. Now,
Let me just be clear. So what they've set up is that this former fire department official saw a homeless guy outside of his mother's house and tried to kick the guy off of a public area. Said the person wasn't allowed to be in that public area because he laid more claim to it than the other person had by right of owning land near it. Just so we're clear about the reasoning there. Not to say that you should necessarily set up a tent city outside of your door. But just so we're clear about what happened. Then this guy says he got his butt whipped for daring to ask the guy to move. That's what he says. All right, let's listen to the twist here.
That also got huge play on Fox News. Tucker claimed that murder was a totally random act of violence in a lawless city. Now, as it turned out, the truth was a little different. The victim and his killer knew each other. They had a personal dispute, in fact. But in Tucker's world, this beating of the former fire commissioner was just yet another example of the city of San Francisco out of control. And it wasn't just the fired 8 p.m. host who highlighted this story.
Graphic video out of San Francisco.
Former fire commissioner Don Carmignani was brutally beaten with a metal pipe.
His attacker seen wielding the crowbar in the streets after the attack.
His friends say he was attacked after he tried to get some homeless people to move from outside his mother's house.
He says he's releasing the video to raise awareness about the crime and chaos in that city.
Some officials say it's a problem of perception rather than reality, but the city's former fire commissioner would likely beg to differ.
He was just minding his own business when outside of his mom's house, he got whacked in the head.
Now, let's take a closer look at the video of this incident, the video that Fox News played over and over. This is the footage that Don Carmignani made public himself. And it does clearly show a brutal assault. Watch the upper left corner of your screen where Carmignani.
Dang it.
Dressed in black, runs into view. He turns to face his assailant, the man you see in red. That is 24-year-old Garrett Doty, who begins hitting him repeatedly in the upper body with a long metal object. They appear to exchange words in between blows. There it is again. Carmignani puts his hand up, seemingly trying to protect himself. Eventually, a bloodied Carmignani turns and runs away down the sidewalk with Doty following behind. Carmignani and his lawyers later released more video of the incident. This clip appears to be a continuation of that last one. Carmignani running down the sidewalk as
Doty is a hero of mine, by the way. You'll see why in a moment.
He chases him and hits him from behind with the metal pipe. Another video shows Doty walking up to a garbage can on a sidewalk, lifting the top and pulling out the long metal object, presumably the same weapon he later uses to strike Don Carmignani.
This is his superhero origin story.
He proceeds to swing it around a few times in the street as if practicing. And a different angle that looks to be shot on a cell phone shows Carmignani and Doty tussling at a gas station. Doty is swinging that same metal pipe as they shuffle around each other. Carmignani tips over a trash can. Doty trips and falls off the curb at one point before he gets back up and hits Carmignani in the torso and then the head. So that is a lot of footage. And this is a story that Don Carmignani and Fox News told, that a homeless man, Garrett Doty, picked up a metal pipe from a trash can and chased Carmignani around the streets of San Francisco. And make no mistake, it was a brutal attack. It really did happen. It left Carmignani with a fractured jaw and skull. He needed emergency surgery and more than 50 stitches. And his attacker, Garrett Doty, was arrested, charged with assault with a deadly weapon and battery causing serious bodily injury. But now we know there was one bit of video missing. Fox only told half of the story. The full story began before any of those videos started rolling. This new footage released by the public defender on Doty's case is where they say the encounter with Don Carmignani actually began. You see a man who, according to Doty's attorneys, is Carmignani, walking down the sidewalk, wielding a can of what appears to be bear spray. He approaches Doty off-screen, and Doty leaps into the frame, running away from Carmignani. The two men then seem to exchange words before
Look at that.
Doty continues to walk away down the street with Carmignani following him. So according to the video and the public defender, this is where the story actually began. This is the key context of what happened before everything. They play it on Fox News. According to Doty and his lawyers, Carmignani sprayed him with bear repellent, and that is why he pulled the metal pipe out of the trash can and chased Carmignani with it, striking him repeatedly.
He is pursuing Mr. Doty, who is running away. And the first thing that Mr. Doty does when he realizes it's Mr. Carmignani coming at him is he ducks out of the way with his coat covering his head, implying he knows and has been subjected to the violence of the bear spray in prior incidents.
The bear spray hasn't been mentioned so far, but you saw that picture. But wait. This is one guy's word versus another. And you don't actually see the bear spray on camera. Where'd that picture come from? Let me tell you this. I do think somebody should be in prison for this assault. And that is Mr. Carmignani.
Wait a second. Prior incidents? There was more evidence made public by Doty's lawyer showing that someone has been going around this very neighborhood for years spraying homeless people with chemical spray. And they believe that person is Don Carmignani.
The public defender also released a second video from November 2021 showing a different, seemingly unprovoked attack on an unhoused person, which she alleges is related.
He sprays with a massive can of bear spray, the same weapon used in the Doty incident.
Public defender Clay Hathaway claims they have reports of 7 other bear spray attacks on homeless people within a 4-block radius of Carmignani's home in the Marina District. But there was never an arrest or any citations in those incidents. Carmignani's attorneys say it's not their client in the bear spray video and vehemently deny their client being involved in any prior incidents.
Now,
I'll say it. I think that was Carmignani in the previous videos. That's what I think. This a-hole that that can't help but bother people who are already down on their luck. The sort of person that carries around bear spray is also the sort of person, generally speaking, who you know what? Withdrawn. I don't know enough people that carry around bear spray. I've literally only known 2. But both of them were the sort of people that would just bother homeless people as a hobby. Tell themselves they're doing a good for the community, when really they're just a effed up person who is looking to vent their own inadequacies on others.
As that reporter said, Don Carmignani denies he ever sprayed Doty or anyone else with bear spray. So if these allegations from the public defender are true, the story that Fox News presented to its audience as a brutal and random attack by a homeless person would actually be the story of a guy running around San Francisco, spraying homeless people with bear spray and getting beaten up by one of the people he sprayed. Now, to their credit, Fox News has updated their audience about these new revelations, But in keeping with their alternate universe of facts, they managed to find someone who would turn it around in favor of Don Carmignani.
Evidently, Don pepper sprayed the homeless guy to get him away from the stoop, and that's when this conflict happened. They might actually now charge Carmignani with some type of charge for pepper spraying the homeless guy, because I guess it's his response.
Yeah, actually what happened was Don ended up spraying himself with it. He did not spray the homeless people with it, sprayed himself with it, which is why in one of those videos you see him with his hands above his face in a defensive position like he is blind. He's actually blinded by the pepper spray that was sprayed, and that's when he went running down the street.
Obviously, Tucker Carlson himself won't be correcting the record on this story because he doesn't have a show anymore. But it's a good reminder that much of the things that Tucker Carlson did on air for the last few years were far worse than whatever nasty things he might have said about his bosses in private text messages.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the many examples we have of what right-wingers are all about. That's the American conservative right there. They're cry bullies who are so incompetent they'll bear spray, not pepper spray, bear spray themselves in the face while trying to assault homeless people. And we live in a society that they know will allow them to get away with it. This was not a matter of public interest until somebody who owned a home decided to make it one. Those assaults on homeless people were unsolved. Were not being looked at. Nobody gave a damn until somebody with a house got injured. Until somebody who is walking around wearing Carhartts but ordering around in their daily life people that actually need the Carhartt gear for their job, until somebody like that got injured. And what do we find out? Well, it was their own damn fault. They bear sprayed themselves and they pissed somebody off after having what appears to be a history of assaulting that community. They're scum. Carmignani deserves to spend at least a decade in prison. I don't want that person out of prison until they are physically unable to assault any more random people. They're broken in a way that needs to be locked away. And anybody who still watches Fox should stop. You've been lied to. You already know you've been lied to. I don't know why you would watch this coverage of Carmignani, it turns out, assaulting people, but edited to look like he's the victim. I don't know why you'd watch that after the Dominion revelations and even think for a moment that you weren't being lied to. This is not a time where we really worry about what you can do, but why not? Do a bonus one. Tell your MAGA community about this in particular, so that they understand the level to which they don't understand the world. You want to know why? Multiple studies have shown that people that get their news from Fox know less about what's going on in the world than people that literally don't watch the news at all. This is why. This is the danger of misinformation. Fox intentionally lies to their audience to mislead them. They take a grain of truth. Violence happened between two men. And then they misinform. They got to be off the air for good. Mars Falcon says, Rittenhouse is their hero, Ashley Babbitt is their hero. Yes, and the question is why? Because they've been misinformed. The context of those two people is totally different for them because they don't live in the real world if they watch Fox News. Leon Chevalier says, When you take the oath here, the community watches. To get the badge is no joke. Hell yeah. Mars Falcon says, Jan 6 rioters are their heroes. Yep, same reason. Context. They have the wrong context. Cortez Crimson says, can we bring back the Darwin Awards? Yes, we should. Frannee P says, unfortunately, Jake, they don't care. They just don't. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's do an experiment. The next time we have a MAGA person join us, first of all, when anybody shows up, let's start saying hi to them. Just literally, hello. Of course, it boosts the algorithm. I'll appreciate that. But also, it establishes that we're a friendly place and makes people feel awkward about not being friendly themselves. But also, use this as training. And here's the training exercise I want us to try. Tamara Chance says, kick Fox out of the White House press room and military bases. 100%. We should not allow disinformation to play in our military bases, first and foremost. Yes, agreed. But here's the training I want us to undertake. The next time we have a misinformed MAGA person show up and start doing their trolling thing, where they're just rattling off misinformation, this is the training I want us to do. Pick whoever responds to that person. Nobody else respond. As soon as you see that one person within the chat is talking to them, that is suddenly a conversation and a training session only between them. So be respectful. Hey, Paul Atkinson. Hey, brother. Watching hockey and you. Delightful. There's slightly less checks in hockey than here on Wicked, where we check our privilege. Ayo. As soon as one person is addressing the troll, the Wicked training is going to be allow just that person to have the conversation. Don't let the troll have their pick of who they want to respond to. It's both so that the troll doesn't have that strategy, and it's so that that person can get their training in, proper. And the way I want that person to respond, to try your best to respond, don't bother trying to refute all their points. Don't do that. If you feel the need to respond, only deal with the thing you first responded to until they have dealt with it with you to your satisfaction. Keep bringing the conversation back there. And when you're trying to sway them, remember what we do here. We pitch to the priorities that people say they have. One thing that annoys me about MAGA is that, in fact, really, this is all Republicans. When you ask them what they think we want, they can't give you an accurate answer. Isn't that surprising? They cannot tell you what their opposition is trying to do accurately. Here's a difficult question to ask yourself. Do you think you could phrase something that MAGA folks want in a way that the MAGA folks would agree with? If you can't, you should address that. And Guitar Dog, hey, good to see you. Hello, Radagast Brown, hello. If you do get to a place where you can accurately identify what MAGA wants, then theoretically you should be able to take whatever policy pitch you have and frame it in a way that will appeal to them. So, next time a troll shows up, number one, as was pointed out, do not let them gish gavel. Keep it, when somebody responds, one person only, just one person, has claimed credit for dealing with them. Let them do it. So nobody else jump in. Number two, don't let them change the subject, as they say, the gish gavel. Leon Chevalier, make America get attorneys. Yes. And number 3, when you are making when you're making your case to them, don't make it based on your priorities. Make it based off the priorities they are suggesting that they have based off their arguments. So, for example, if it's Ukraine disinformation, and they're saying, why are we spending all this money helping Ukraine? Okay, there's the reason that nobody should disagree with, that most lefties have, because Ukraine's getting invaded, because it's an unjust war. But that's not, the person just said that their priority is money, not justice. Okay, well, frame it in a way that's going to appeal to them. It's cheaper for us to have Russia bleed its own resources. One of our 2 nearest peers, although they're not really a near peer, it turns out, but one of our 2 biggest competitors on the international stage, it's cheaper for us, for them to bleed their resources fighting Ukraine than it would be for us to spend our own money directly, or rather spend our money to directly interfere with Russia's business. So you can pitch to them on their level based off their priorities, and that's going to be more effective than trying to first sway them to your way of thinking, to have them adopt your priorities. In addition, you don't have to do only contradictory pitches. You can do pitches that are additive. So if, for example, a person saying, I do not want us to have any military presence, including equipment in Ukraine. Okay, it might not necessarily work, but the way I would try is to say, you can look at this like we just withdraw all of our support again and let Ukraine stand alone, in which case they will remember that, and so will Russia. But Russia is not going to become our friend suddenly, versus a possible friendship that lasts for the entire existence of our countries between the U.S. and Ukraine. You want us to not spend any money there? A great way to do that would be to have the war be over. So on and so forth. I'm going to quit straw manning, though, because we got some great comments here. Mars Falcon, I'm telling you that they just do not care about reality or facts, not even a little. True, Mars Falcon. Here's the thing, though. When they make an argument, when they're trying to argue with you, at the very least, in that conversation, they have to establish the reality that they say they believe in. And even in their hypothetical make-em-up realities, you can still make a pitch for proper governance, because they are so bad at policy. They have so little understanding of how any of this works that you can basically fight them on any level and win. You just need to keep appealing to what they say they want to accomplish, because they can't come out and say what they really want, because even they don't know that. Mars Falcon, I do not know if they know they are lying or if they really believe. What off-ramp can be offered to a person that says cats are dogs, up is down? I hear you, but know when to simply withdraw. Yeah, that's true, but we're talking about how to use this as training. We're talking about what is the value, for example, of Friday Peace Talks. What's the value of inviting MAGA folks into a place like this? There is value. It's in training. It's training for you. It's training for me. It's training for people that watch us later in the replay, interacting with these people. Leon Chevalier says, if Ukraine falls, Europe falls. If Europe falls, America falls. We've been through this. Remember World War II? Yes. Yeah. That's an excellent, quick bite. Excellent way to put it. That's just fully correct. Cortez Crimson says, I'm still the new guy, but I'm happy to vote. Do you mean new guy to the channel? Because we're all new guys to the channel. It's only 4 months old, baby. If you're new to the U.S., welcome. My word. Delighted to have you. Radagast Brown says, watching the Dodgers and the NBA and listening to you. Lots of MAGA tears this past few weeks. It's been a good one. By the way, I appreciate your work in the world of magic. Yeah, it's been just a wonderful past couple of weeks. We got Tucker outskis. We've got Trump with his civil rape trial. I mean, just really a satisfying couple of weeks. Mars Falcon said the Russian foreign minister declared Tucker's firing as a signal of the decline of Western values. Good. I don't like those values that he thinks we have. Tamara Chance says, kick Fox. Oh, we did that. Well, I'll read it again. Why not? Kick Fox out of the White House press room and military bases. Yes, please. Oh, mercy me. Wireless Mike says, I type too slow and it takes too much energy to waste engaging with a disingenuous a-hole. I'll let someone who can type faster handle the trolls. Yes, don't. Also, the trolls are there for your amusement. Truly. Their opinions should not be something we ever worry about. We already know they're not serious. So why worry about them like they are serious? You want to know functionally what they're accomplishing? Every time somebody sends a message, even if it's a dislike on a video, anytime somebody interacts with the video becomes a little bit more valuable to YouTube. So every time the troll is being like, spam, they're boosting a lefty stream in the algorithm. Let the bad guys be their own demise. And if it's tiring to you to interact with them, yeah, don't interact with them. Just let them shout into the void. That's what it's there for. But if you do want to interact with them, I recommend you use it as training and work on your techniques. It's a safe spot. This is the political dojo. It ain't the street. There's padded mats. There's mods like Wicked Foxy Dragon making sure they don't start spamming the N-word or whatever thing they're always on the verge of doing. Have fun with it. Or just ask a mod, which you'll see with the little wrench next to their name. Just ask a mod to boot them if they start genuinely annoying you. And remember, says Mars Falcon, Wicked Gladiators, after vanquishing a troll, be sure to declare, are you not entertained? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love it. All right. The long-term project we're working on is how to get lobbyists to lobby on behalf of taking action on global warming. The general plan thus far is to give a pitch to insurance companies to require the government to send out notices to people who are in areas that are anticipated to be hit by global warming weather events of exactly what is anticipated and what the timeline is. In doing so, my hope is that we will get some of these overfunded devils to work against each other. If you have any ideas, or if you want to be part of the jam session that we're going to do about this at some point next week, I think Wednesday. But if you want to be part of the jam session where we talk about this in like a private group chat, just write me at whatyoucando@wickednetwork.com. That's WYCDnetwork.com. I'll take your email and add it to the list then of folks that are going to get an invite, and we'll talk about how we're going to do this. Somebody said, why can't we just hire a lobbyist? Well, if this channel gets big enough, we are literally going to do that. But the idea is to make them spend their own bribing money, these insurance companies. They donate to campaigns as well. And really, the lobbyist is just somebody who's there to facilitate a bribe. That's how they work. Yes, they're there to sway as well, if they can. But, I mean, in the modern America, they're facilitating a bribe. They say, I represent these wealthy people. They sure would appreciate it if you did X, Y, or Z. Are you going to do X, Y, or Z? And the politician says, oh, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. They take a knee. They kiss the feet of the lobbyist. They allow prima nocta. And then the lobbyist says to the insurance company, yes, they have earned our money. So our goal is to take one of those lobbyists and twist them to our purposes. Wireless Mike says, my only concern with that is it could backfire against the people who already have enough trouble paying their mortgage or property taxes. Yeah, I agree. It could go bad. But having said that, all we're talking about doing is having the government send out a notice of scientific fact, just informing people of reality. So if we get to a place where we have to hide the truth from people, then we need to readjust our strategy. We need to readjust our priorities. I think the spreading of truth should always be our guiding light. But that said, I mean, you bring up a good point. There are practical considerations for how the corruption will affect such a process. Paul Atkinson says, getting the facts, the truth out into the world is so very important today. We are simpatico, my brother. Yes, sir. Frannee P says, was that a thumbs up emoji? I can't see on this phone. I haven't the foggiest. I'll give you one in real time. How about that? Patrick Kibido says, my first job in Austin was an aide to the lobbyist for Texas Citizen Action, a pro-drinkable water and breathable air organization. It was both fulfilling and incredibly frustrating all at once. Patrick, I have so many questions for you. You know what? Thank God you're a member. I'm going to contact the members later with questions. I need to get educated in the lobbyist arena. It's just not been something I've delved into, and to me, more and more, it seems like an area where these devils have a weakness, where we can use their greed against them. So I'm going to ask you to educate me quite a bit with your personal experiences. Hell, you are thus far our only live exchange. When I have the better system set up, I'll probably going to ask you to come back again. I'll interview you right here, if you're willing. Guitar Dog says, in quotes, truth never hurt a cause that was just, says Gandhi. Hell yeah, that's my general thinking. This channel is going to get big enough, says Cortez Crimson. Hell yes, I believe so. Guitar Dog also lives in Austin. Hell yeah. A lot of Texas folks. Yes. Mars Falcon. My short time in Austin was some of the most peaceful I had in Texas. Yeah. I hung out in Austin for a week once. It was the most awkward week of my... I do have your phone number. That's right. Patrick Kibido. I will probably take advantage of it, although my crippling social anxiety, I'm sure, will affect that as well. Hung out in Austin for one of the most awkward weeks of my life. Literally had to sleep in a car for one night. And despite that, it was one of the most fun times I've ever had. Austin is such a cool town. You're very lucky to be there, just not in 2023. Leon Chevalier says, privatizing water is an insane concept. What's next? Oxygen? Yeah, we got to talk. I mean, that's another one where I'm kind of hanging my head a little bit with my state. If you're not in the know, Michigan just allowed the Nestle Corporation to start stealing water from the Great Lakes. I think they pay $200, literally $200 a year, for the right to steal our water and sell it to yuppies in a plastic bottle. Cortez Crimson says, I'm still confused on titles. Me too. Radagast Brown, not all lobbyists are bad. There are environmental lobbies and such. Most are pretty corrupt, though. Yeah. And Radagast, thank you for pointing that out. I should mention, when I say lobbyists, I mean to say, and I probably should find a term for this. Help me out if you know one. Just the people facilitating bribes. A lot of lobbyists, like an NRA lobbyist, what are they going to tell a politician that the politician doesn't already know? Nothing. They're simply there to verify that they're a communication between a line of communication between, at least this is my understanding, between the politician and the person that can bribe them. It's that simple. And sure, they pitch ways that politician can make their message a little more palatable. Sure. But when I say that we should use the lobbyists against some of these folks, what I really mean is we should turn these corporations against each other. We have businesses right now that we should try to trick into fighting each other, much like a kaiju movie. I wish we weren't in a Godzilla flick, but since we are, let's pick our beast. And there's my pipes leaving at the end of the week. Let's pick our beast and send them at each other. Mars Falcon, run for president of Spaceball City Wireless Mike. They get free cans of Perrier. I saw the documentary. Interesting. Zick says, didn't Flint change from Lake Huron to the Poison River? Yeah. It was really more of an issue with the infrastructure there. But yeah. It was the problems started when they switched their water source. And they were getting it, I believe. I think it was the opposite. I think they were getting it all the way from Detroit for some reason. I don't remember the details anymore. I do know that unfortunately we let Governor Snyder, former Governor Snyder, get away with it. Paul Atkinson says Jack Layton's last words. My friends, love is better than anger. Hope is better than fear. Optimism is better than despair. So let us be loving, hopeful, and optimistic, and we'll change the world. Hell yes. And also, not be afraid to whoop the ass off whoever that guy was in San Francisco. I'm really not a fan of that Bear Mace guy. Leon Chevalier says, yuppies. Is Jake turning British? I've always wondered secretly if I am somehow technically British. I haven't figured out how I can claim that yet. I'll work on it. But big fan of QI. Big fan of oh my God. What is that game show that is like the best game show in the world? Made by that weird comedian, Alex whatever. Little Alex Horn. Leon, you gotta help me. I can't believe I can't remember Alex Horn's game show. Anyway, like Doctor Who, I'm so on Doctor Who. Big fan of British TV. Frannee P says, Mike just had cataract surgery and was trying to send you a thumbs up. I give up. I can't focus. Oh, I'm sorry, Frannee. Oh, and a Mel Brooks shout out. Excellent. Radagast Brown asks, are you still going live during Trump's speeches? I would definitely tune into that. I try to force myself to listen to all of his speeches. I'm going to start again. I don't know why I stopped. I'm going to start doing that again. Also, it's fun. Oh, well, y'all, it's been a hell of a week. I'll join the Mutual Appreciation Association. I appreciate the hell out you. Yes, Leon Chevalier with Greg Davies. Yes. Why can I not remember? It's like my favorite. I've watched every episode of this and the New Zealand one. Why can I not think of it? I know why, because I'm live talking to you. I'm having that moment. I could Google it right now, but I refuse. Monty Python, go to hell. Oh, God. I can't listen, says Zix. The voice is too annoying. Well, that's understandable. On a related note, it's been a great week. It's been a productive week. Sanity has been winning left and right. It's hard to keep up with it. Tuckums is gone. Trials are proceeding. Look at that. Hope, once again, on the horizon. Delighted to have y'all join me this week. I will talk to you soon again, and I'm going to drink a significant amount of alcohol in celebration. Thank you so much for being who you are. And if you enjoyed the stream, please do tell people about it. It's immensely helpful to me. I'm trying to grow this thing, and I think this lot right here, this group that's hanging out with these cats on the internet, I think we're going to change the way things operate. And I think we will be the first of many such shows. So let's make a big splash. Tell folks about it. Thank you for joining me. This has been WYCD Wicket. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake. Taskmaster. That was the show. Taskmaster. Thank you, Leon Chevalier. That was killing me, man.